This one's been highly requested for a while, hasn't it? From many of you, including, but not limited to, my friend Mountain Kitty. So, since May has pretty much nothing actually interesting or good coming up, I thought that I'd go ahead and take this month to answer that request. Or all of these requests, honestly. And here's the thing. It's not that I haven't had any interest in watching this show. I have been nothing but interested, because I've only seen bits and pieces here and there. But it's one of those shows that I'm not entirely sure how to tackle. Because this show, from what I've been able to gather, is absolutely bonkers. Like, somehow even more bonkers than SpongeBob. However, because it is still highly requested, because I have such an interest in checking it out and going through it, and because I need something to do in May besides Devil May Cry Season 2, well, here we are. So, I hope this lives up to all your expectations. Keep in mind that just like with SpongeBob, we're going to be doing this season by season. So, this year it'll be Season 1, then next year Season 2, Season 3, so on and so forth. So, we're not going to get through the entire show like in one entire go. That would take like a whole year. But I will say that it's still pretty substantial because there's going to be 18 of these reviews and they're all 2 episodes each. Because just like again with SpongeBob, it is all like 11-minute episodes with no specials in between. So it's like we're reviewing SpongeBob Season 1 again, but it's not SpongeBob, and it's from Cartoon Network instead of Nickelodeon. Also, another really interesting note before we get started. Sorry, I know, long preamble, but this is a pretty substantial moment because this is the first time we're ever covering this show. There is also the fact that this is the first Cartoon Network original show that we are covering on the channel. And again, it's not like Cartoon Network has any shortage of great original shows. Heck, I just watched Powerpuff Girls for the first time not that long ago and had a great time with those first 3 seasons. Not to mention, I grew up on Ben 10 Alien Force, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Kids Next Door, like a whole bunch of Cartoon Network shows. I just review more Nickelodeon than I do Cartoon Network because that's what stuck with me the most as a kid. So, yeah, this is the first time we're looking at a Cartoon Network original series on this channel, and it's definitely a daunting task. I know I'm probably going to make more than a few mistakes or weird opinions, but keep in mind, this is a first time watch, because while I've only seen bits and pieces of the show here and there, I've never really gotten to fully delve into the series itself. So, this is my way of doing that. And again, this was highly requested by you guys, so as a content creator, I kind of have to answer that request in some way. But since this isn't going to take all of May to do, I also have another theme month planned after this one. You'll find out what it is at the end of this particular marathon. Alright, now that we got all the preamble and all the stuff out of the way, now we can start diving fully into the reviews. And just like with SpongeBob, we're going to do it in screen recorder, no face cam, and I'm going to try to make these as quick as possible. Quick and to the point. But I will definitely, as always, give highlights to my favorite moments and also point out a few flaws here and there. And from what I've seen so far, it's not like major flaws or anything, it's just little things. Like, you know how Season 1 of SpongeBob has a bit of inferiority compared to most of the rest of it? This is kind of the same case, because since this is Season 1 and they're still establishing characters, they're still working on the world building and trying to get like a unique, distinct style for both their storytelling and their animation, there's going to be a few rough patches here and there as it tries to find its own voice, so to speak. So, there's going to be things I'm going to point out, and they're not cataclysmic problems, at least I don't think that they are. But again, this is a first time watch, so who knows? I've been surprised before, I can definitely be surprised now. Alright, that's enough rambling, let's begin. What's up, what's happening, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Anime Station, your Anime Station for Anime and everything, including a family of kooks, I guess? I don't know. I gotta work on a title. As well as TV and movies, I'm your host, Jackson Small. Welcome to the amazing world of Gumball. This is going to be a brand new theme month that we're going to be doing every single May starting this year, where we're going to be going through every single season and episode, all 12 of them, of the amazing world of Gumball, our first Cartoon Network original series covered on the channel. Please excuse the barking dog. So, now it's time to dive into the episodes. Let's start, of course, with the pilot, the DVD. Now, on the surface, this episode seems rather simple, because all it really is about Gumball and Darwin, the two main brother characters of the show, trying to find literally any way around paying a rental fee for a DVD that they borrowed, Alligators on a Train. And if you're like me, from a 2000s kid, and you grew up on like Red Blocks and Blockbuster and stuff like that, this episode definitely hits a bit of that nostalgic core from that particular kind of childhood memory of going to a rental store, of buying a DVD, and forgetting to return the DVD because you've watched it so many times and literally anything else is on your mind at that point. We've all done it. I am more than guilty of it more than a few times. I mean, I still have some of my Redbox copies of other DVDs that never got returned, so trust me when I say that this is a very relatable premise. However, what they do with this premise is actually genuinely really, really interesting. So, it starts with Nicole, Gumball's mom, trying to remind her son to return the DVD. And Gumball is being nonchalant, as kids are, just sitting on the couch, or laying on the couch in this case, watching TV, wearing no pants. And Nicole has to be the stern mom for a moment, and we get a little bit of a sneak peek of Nicole's, uh, I'm gonna say, mom Kaioken energy. Like, if you've seen Dragon Ball Super, and you've seen the moment where Chi-Chi gets so mad that her aura turns into Kaioken when she's yelling at Gohan, this is kind of similar to that, because from what I've been able to gather, Nicole has a lot of moments like this. And it may or may not make her my favorite character in the show by the end, who knows. But she punches through the door to get Gumball's attention, and Gumball immediately, changes his tune and says, "Okay, I'll remember, sorry." And then her tone immediately turns back to sweet and loving. She walks out the door, and then Gumball walks into the kitchen to find Darwin trying to cut a pizza with the DVD, because he thought the DVD was a pizza cutter. There are gags like this, like, all throughout this show. At least so I've been told, so this is, like, its distinct comedy style. Very gag-centric. You see now why I compare it a lot to SpongeBob? This is why. So, after Gumball finds out that Darwin was doing that, he takes the DVD from him and tries to clean it off, but Gumball uses the wrong side of the sponge and ends up scratching the ever-living flying flip out of it. No cursing in this marathon. I promise you that. So then he freaks out once Darwin actually tells him the obvious, and the DVD ends up going down a garbage chute and gets shredded to bits. And then the rest of the episode is centered around these two characters having to go to extreme lengths just to make sure that they don't have to pay this fine. And there are a lot of genuinely funny moments all throughout this episode. Genuinely a lot. But since there is such little time, and I want to try to keep these from being like 40, 50 minutes long, uh, I'll just go over my main highlights. Again, just like I do with the SpongeBob months every year, which, yes, that's still happening in June, don't worry. So, highlight number one is Gumball's replacement boxers. There's an entire gag in this part where Gumball is trying to make a point about something, and then he gets up talking about how he misplaced his trousers, so he made it out of cardboard. Hence why he tried to make a replacement DVD out of cardboard to try and fool the rental guy. But Gumball, he says that no one notices that he's not wearing his normal trousers and just wearing cardboard, and then he starts walking like a robot. To which Darwin immediately points out the obvious of like, no, everyone's gonna notice that. Like, it's a simple gag, but the way that they build up to it is genuinely funny, and seeing Gumball's goofy robot walk, yeah, that's a really good moment. Definitely a highlight for me. Then the second one, probably my favorite part of the episode outside of the whole chase at the very end, is Darwin speaking Chinese. There's a scene where Gumball is trying to get a job with Darwin to try to make money to pay off the DVD after first getting robbed by a beggar who then uses his money who then steals the money that they were making, wins a scratch ticket, becomes a millionaire, and then just walks away saying he has no change, even though you can clearly audibly hear the change jingling around in his coat pocket. So they try to get a job, and Gumball is asking Darwin all these questions about, can he drive, etc., etc., and he ends up asking if Darwin can speak Chinese, to where he does speak Chinese, or at least it seems so, until the translation pops up from all of that, because it sounds like he says like a very long, drawn-out sentence, but the translation is just a simple no. I don't know why that got me, but that moment had me laughing pretty good for a while. And then, of course, you had the chase scene where Nicole, becomes crazy aggro mom again, and chases them through many people's backyards, to the point of even riding a dog through a fence, which is also pretty great. And then the boys finally make it to the laser video rental store, where they turn in a DVD and proclaim that it is the DVD that, they bought from the rental store. But the rental guy, what's his name? Sorry, I'm still new to this show. Larry, the rental guy, uh, puts in the DVD to make sure that it's not fake because he wasn't fooled by their cardboard copy the first time. And it ends up being a recreation of alligators on a train with Gumball and Darwin starring in it, making a bunch of noises and having props made out of cardboard, and Darwin wearing the goofiest mustache imaginable. And then they also do like a little hum of trying to recreate the music from the movie. And not only is it funny because it's like a reference slash parody of like independent filmmaking. So it has like that homespun feel to it, which is actually really nice. But also because of the way that it's so over the top. Because I have a feeling that the movie itself was not like that. I mean, we obviously never find out, but I have a pretty good feeling that that's not how the movie actually went. And then it ends with Nicole catching up, finding out what they did, and realizing that, it would have been easier if they had just told her. Because this show, as you're going to find out, has a very thin little layer of self-awareness. Not to the point of like breaking the fourth wall constantly, like SpongeBob, but to a point where you can tell the characters are aware of a situation and are describing the situation in a way that actually makes sense. So she pays the late fee for the DVD, and then she ends up having to pay another fee on top of that, which after Larry does some calculations in his computer, uh, amounts to $700. To which Nicole immediately says, there's a time to take responsibility for your actions, and there's a time to run away. And the episode ends with them running out of the video store together. This episode's great. Like, I can see why Cartoon Network wanted to pick this one up for a full series. It's funny, it's fast paced, it's very unique, and it's a lot of fun to watch. Like, I can see why this show got greenlit, because after a pilot this funny, yeah, I'm pretty sure I would greenlight it too if I was an executive. Then again, most executives nowadays are barnacle heads, so what do I know? Final verdict for the DVD is an 8 out of 10. This is a really great start to the show, and it has me excited to see where the rest of it goes. Alright, that's enough about the DVD. Let's move on to a much shorter review with The Responsible. Alright, that was a really, really long review of that first episode, so let's try and make this one a little more condensed, shall we? The Responsible, the second episode of Season 1 of The Amazing World of Gumball. So, in this episode, once again, it's a very simple, straightforward premise. Gumball and Darwin babysit Anais, their little sister, while Nicole and Richard, the parents, end up attending a PTA meeting. And what's strange is that this is the first appearance of the teacher character in the show, Miss Simeon, and not like an actual like school-related episode, which I couldn't help but find that kind of interesting, because usually, again, I'm going to make a lot of comparisons to SpongeBob throughout this marathon, so please just be aware of that. It's the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of something to compare this to. In SpongeBob, when we first met Mrs. Puff in Season 1 in boating school, it was, well, a school episode. Whereas here with Miss Simeon, she's just introduced as a character in a B plot that ends up becoming a mainstay going forward. Very, very interesting, to say the least, because it's very uncommon, even in animation. Okay, enough about that. So, yeah, that's the premise. Gumball and Darwin have to babysit Anais after Richard fails to get an actual babysitter because the internet. That's going to come back later in one of the funniest parts of the episode. Just wait for it. So, Nicole reluctantly has to give Gumball and Darwin permission and the responsibility of taking care of their little sister Anais. And it goes just about as well as you expect it to. They're overly protective. They do not let Anais go up the stairs because they think that it will lead to an accident. Then she tries to watch TV, and Gumball and Darwin smash the TV to bits, making a snarky remark about TV violence, and Anais immediately calls them out, and it's like, so, you break the TV in front of me, even though you're talking about TV having too much violence. I'll talk more about that scene later. That is one of the highlights. And meanwhile, you have Nicole trying to calm Richard down at this PTA meeting and assuring him that Miss Simeon has no power over them because they're adults. But then we see Banana Barbara and Banana Bob run out of her office crying, which makes them immediately think otherwise. Yeah, also the first appearance of the Banana parents in the show. Again, it's interesting the way that they're introducing most of these characters as either like a one-off gag or part of a B plot that's not the main focus of the episode. It's interesting. And then after that, they try to take Gumball and Darwin suggest taking her for a walk in the park. Again, please excuse the barking dog. Only for it to not go the way it's supposed to. I'll talk more about it later. And then Anais reaches the breaking point, tries to take a bath, and Then she locks herself in their room as she forgot to turn off the bath faucet, so now the whole house is flooding with water as she's trying to spite Darwin and Gumball, who she then locks onto the roof by locking them out from the window. And as that's happening, then she immediately realizes she needs help. She calls for help. Gumball and Darwin go through the sewer and up through the toilet. Yeah, not gonna even talk more about that one. And ends up going through the entire house, gets Anais, and they have to drain the house by moving the couch out of the way, which was destroyed at this point because they were chasing each other around earlier. And they all get shot up through the chimney. And Gumball says that they can use the diaper as a parachute, only for them to immediately just faceplane into the ground. All three of them. So then the parents get home. Nicole is naturally livid at this entire situation. And Gumball looks like he's about to do the responsible thing and steps up to take the blame, only to blame Darwin. And then Darwin blames Anais. And then Anais blames Nicole. And then Nicole blames Richard. And it just goes on and on. And that's how the episode ends. This is somehow even funnier than the first episode because, once again, very simple premise, very simple plot, very simple story. But they put in so many gags that you honestly don't care. That's so simplistic in its storytelling. And I'm not going to say that it's like too fast paced because I'm starting to realize that's the show's whole style, being fast paced comedy. But I will admit, like, towards the end, with the whole thing of them having to save Anais from the flooding house, it does rush a slight bit. Just a slight bit. Not to the point of, like, ruining the experience or anything, but just to the point of being noticeable. Okay, that's enough about that. Let's go ahead and move on to the highlights of the episode. So, I kind of already gave away the first one, so let's just talk about it a little bit more in depth. The boys smashing the TV. Now, not only is this funny because at first they're all vibing along to a little kid's puppet show that Anais turns on the TV, but the second that she turns the channel, Gumball has a freak out because he thinks that advertisements will brainwash you. So him and Darwin immediately smash the TV, and then make a quirky remark about how about how TV nowadays is too violent, to the point where Anais again says that they're making an ironic statement, yet are smashing the TV in front of her in an act of violence. It's one of those very layered gags that you're not going to get as a kid, but when you watch it as an adult, you notice it and you appreciate how blunt and yet clever it is at the same time. It's a really funny moment. However, not the funniest part of the episode quite yet, though I will say that the second funniest part of the episode is the walk in the park gag. Because the way that it looks like, Gumball and Darwin are like, we gotta get out of the house, we need to go for a walk in the park to, get away from everything, because up to this point, everything that they've tried has failed miserably. And Anais actually agrees to it. Only to then come to the realization that by walk in the park, they mean that Gumball and Darwin are going to walk through the park, and Anais gets dragged around on a dog leash. Oh my goodness. And then they come across one of the older residents of the town as they're walking through the park, and because it is an elderly character, Anais actually gets mistaken for a dog. And the elderly person tries to give her a dog treat. Oh my goodness. But somehow that's not even the funniest part of the episode. The funniest part's the ending. Because as everyone's blaming each other, and after Nicole blames Richard for, the relying on the internet to get a babysitter, and also failing to put on pants, uh, he then decides to blame his computer, which is smashed and destroyed on the ground, leading to everyone looking at him confused. And Nicole asks, what are you blaming?" And he just goes, "The internet." And the episode just ends with everyone going with that excuse. Like, just no blowback, no announcement of how dumb that is. It's more like the characters, again, are self aware and think, oh, this episode has to end. Yeah, let's just go with that excuse and let it end. That moment had me cracking up so badly. Because at that point, I didn't even realize that it was the end of the episode by that point. And it got me good. It was a really funny moment. Funniest moment in the episode. So, that's The Responsible. It's a great follow up to the pilot, and it is definitely my favorite episode of these two. But I have a feeling that we've only just begun this cavalcade of chaos, so to speak. Final verdict for The Responsible is an 8.5 out of 10. Another great episode, and we're off to a really, really good start for this show. And it has me even more excited to see where it's going to go next. Okay, and with that, we are officially done our first review of many to come of The Amazing World of Gumball. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you guys hope this review lived up to your anticipation or to your expectations. And I'll see you guys next time when we continue our look through of The Amazing World of Gumball with episodes 3 and 4. The third, ironic title, and The Debt. Until then, thanks for watching. I'm Jackson Small of Animation Station. Remember, Animation Station is your most for anything in animation. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this almost every single day. And hit the hype button to get this higher up in the algorithm if you so desire. You don't have to, it would just really help the channel out. Alright, that's all I've got. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next review. Take care.